Hey guys, what's up today? Working on a driven clutch for 2011 Arctic Cat 800. Checking it out. Had to replace a bushing in the helix and need to replace the rollers in the clutch. Gonna do that today and hopefully go out and do a little testing on it and see if it fixes it. The issue was the sled bogging a little bit when you come to a stop. It was almost like that clutch wasn't disengaging completely. So I'm hoping by cleaning it up, replacing some worn parts, that should be able to get it back on the trail again. This is the bushing bearing, I think is what they call it, that ended up getting replaced. The old one had a little bit of a gouge in it. Nothing crazy, I don't think that was causing the issue, but right there you can see that spot in it. Also going to be replacing all these rollers, 6 of them. So got to drive the pins out from the backside, the roll pin punch, and get the new ones put in. I'm sure there's a better way to do this. I'm sure they probably make a tool to do this, but I don't have the tool and I don't have the time. So basically, I'm just taking a large pick. I'm just starting the pin out with the pick. Seems like it moves fairly easily. Just kind of pry a little bit and it'll get to starting. And then once it gets to a certain point, you can't get it to go any further. So then I've just got a pair of vice grips on that pin, and then I just take and pry a little bit against it and it pulls it out the rest of the way, and then you can drop the roller out. And used roller, looking pretty chewed up. So we're going to go ahead and replace all 6 of those, and we'll start putting it back together. Alright, so all the rollers replaced. Like I said, press those pins out from this side out, and then you just drive them back in to where the pin is flush here on the inside of that hole, and then this roll pin drives back in, and that's what stops that pin from being able to go outward. This little plastic washer is what keeps that pin from being able to travel in toward the center. So I'm gonna go ahead and put all these roll pins back in. Basically, I just take the pin, just make sure that it doesn't have a bunch of junk on it. Start it in the hole, and I'll just give it a little tap. Get it started, and then take a roll pin punch. You can see on the end of that, maybe, on the end of that punch, there's a little dimple that's supposed to go into the center of that pin. That way it doesn't deform the end of the pin, and you just drive it in. Alright, pins are all in. Reassembly will be this washer down, the sleeve. Sleeve goes on all the way down. Spring sits on there. There's also 2 washers that go in the helix. Got those in. I'm going to go ahead and set the spring in here, just like that for now. Flip it over and down. And then when you're putting that in there, you're going to want this gap to line up in this slot here. If you look at the back plate, there's also a basically a shim in there. That's got to go in just like that. And then set on there. Goes back together like that. And then you just have to make sure that everything's lined back up like it was to keep balance on the clutch. I did mark this before I took it apart, so I'm just going to line all that stuff back up, start bolting it, or compressing it and bolting it together. Alright everybody, so got my little homemade spring compressor here. Just a little inset nut into this plate, and then on the top side another plate, basically just compressing the whole thing together. Made sure that that dimple was lined up with that S, and I'd marked the back side so I know where that has to be in relation to all that stuff. And then on the back here, once you get it compressed down, there's 9 bolts that go in, 3 at each ear on that helix. And I'm going to use a little bit of blue Loctite on those. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting those in, and then see how it looks once it's all assembled. Alright, got it all put back together. Everything's looking good. And gonna go ahead and put it back on the snowmobile. Maybe take it out for a little test ride. Alright, so we're gonna get the clutch put back on. Basically, need to compress it now to be able to get that belt on. So, just flip this washer around, put the bolt back in, use it to push the sheaves open, take it all the way in, and then you can get this belt to start. And it just walks right in there. And you just want to make sure when you're loosening this that the belt stays to the outside so the clutch can come back together. That should be good. Then just take the bolt out. Flip this around. It was on there like that to compress it. Flip that around. Get that to start back in there. You can throw the bolt back in. It should be ready to go. That was it. So, new rollers. New bushing out here in the helix, and hopefully that'll take care of the issues of the bog that we were having. We come to a stop go to start up again, and it was a little bit boggy, almost like that clutch wasn't disengaging completely. The belt was kind of hanging down in there. So we'll see if that takes care of it. Get it out for a test ride. Thanks for watching.